Okay, right. I think we have some action, guys. I think we have a screen I can see. I can't particularly see questions very well, but I can at least see the screen. So let's kick this off. We're going to talk tonight about AdWords Express. So there's a way to kick this off. Can I just get a note in the chat box? How many people have seen AdWords Express, know what it is, have heard of it? Who knows anything about it or has even come across it in their prospecting? Don't worry if my screen goes blank. It's just the way GoToWebinar works with this machine. Okay, lots of people know very little about it. That's good. So let's catch everybody up then. David, you know about it and you have a prospect. Well, one of the reasons we're doing this session tonight is actually we've seen lots of people bringing in prospects over the last couple of weeks, in particular with who use AdWords Express. So one of the reasons that we've done this particularly is that it's relevant to you guys. So Fran Kennedy, who I imagine is on this session this evening, she almost always is. She's been very thorough. And she is here tonight. Good evening, Fran. You're one of the reasons that we're doing this session today. So listen up. Hopefully we'll get some good stuff out of it. So let me tell you about AdWords Express. Yes, Kevin.
Was it showing your screen?
Yeah, whenever I flick to the GoToWebinar question box, it drops my screen off. So I'll figure that out as we go. But thank you for pointing that out. So AdWords Express, the way I've approached this isn't just to give everybody a nice little overview of what AdWords Express is, because that's kind of nice, but I actually want to make this actionable. So I want to leave everybody with a couple of things. The first thing is a method of finding advertisers who are using AdWords Express, a good understanding of what's good about it and what's bad about it, and a means to follow up with people who use it so that you can actually sell them something else. So the aim is we walk away with an actionable result rather than just some nice knowledge. So that said, what is AdWords Express? Well, if you Google AdWords Express, you'll end up with a page that looks a bit like this. And this is the UK version of the page. The US one's very, very similar. Essentially, AdWords Express, in my opinion, is AdWords for dummies. It's AdWords cut down and simplified massively, and that has advantages and disadvantages to it. So I guess the key thing is why does it even exist as a product? And here's the reasons why it exists. It exists so that Google can sell AdWords advertising to businesses who otherwise wouldn't want to engage in something as complex as AdWords. So if you imagine the scenario, you're a busy local independent business owner, you might have one or two people in your business. You're probably not going to hire an AdWords account manager. You're probably not even going to run the campaign yourself. But if somebody from Google calls you up and says, hey, Mr. Business Owner, I'd like to set you up an AdWords Express account, and then you can run it and it will take you no time at all. And it's super, super simple. You might go for that. And by the way, Mr. Business Owner, if you haven't even got a website, don't worry, you can use your Google Plus business page. So as a proposition from Google's perception, their objective is to get AdWords into the hands of people who otherwise might not be advertising. And they do that with an interface that's really, really simple. It's basic, but it's easy and it's non-techy. So from a business owner's perspective, you don't even have to write an ad. You just write a couple of line description of your business, give it a vague indication of the keyword you want to target, and away you go. So it's a simple, low entry point, and that's kind of its reason for existing in the first place. Now, the downside to that is it's so simple. It's really hard for business owners to actually do anything meaningful with AdWords Express. And here's what I mean by that. There isn't any conversion tracking. You've got no idea with AdWords Express what's working and what isn't. So if you think about it from a business owner's perspective, you might put $200 or $300 or $500 a month into your AdWords Express. you've got no idea. You really will not know what's working and what's not. You'll know what you're spending, but that's all you'll actually find out with the tool. You can get some more information than that, but it's basic. You also can't control your keywords. What you actually do is you describe a service that you want to sell. And when you've described that service, then AdWords creates keywords list automatically for you. You don't actually create the keyword list yourself. You tell it, I want to advertise emergency dentistry. That's it. That's all you put in there. AdWords Express takes care of the rest of that for you. So from your perspective, you could be advertising on completely random keywords and you'd have absolutely no idea about it. So from a business owner's perspective, it's a really easy setup in that you've just said emergency dentistry. But beyond that, you've no idea what you're actually targeting. There is part of the interface that will show you that, but it's not the best. It's fairly limited in what it will actually show you, and so you've got to be very, very careful with it. I'm going to try, if I can, and show you an example later on. So bear with me as we go through this. That's on my list if we possibly can. The other thing you've got is location control limitations. With the main AdWords tool, you can target locations really granular. You can go zip, you can go city, state, you can draw a radius, you can do overlapping radiuses, you can do all sorts of really clever stuff. Location control and AdWords Express, you can do one of them. You can pick a city or you can pick a state or you can draw a radius, but that's it. You've got very limited control. And one of the worst things I think about it is there's no bid control. In AdWords Express, you say, I have $50 a day to spend. That's it. You don't tell Google, I want to spend it on these keywords. I want to spend more over lunchtimes because lunchtimes are a good time of day for me. You don't say, I'm more interested in mobile traffic than I'm in desktop traffic. You have none of that control whatsoever. And what that means is Google just spends the business owner's money however it sees fit. You've given complete control over your bidding and your spending and the time of day that you spend to Google and their algorithm. So you've lost control completely of that, which again, it's simple, it's easy to do. You just say, I want to spend $50 a day, and Google will quite happily spend $50 a day for you. Might not be on what you want, but it will spend the money. You can't split test either with AdWords Express. So, you can't test ad A against ad B. You can't test different keyword match types. You can't test. It's very limited. So you're stuck. The things you would normally do as a PPC manager to improve a campaign, those tools aren't available to you in AdWords Express. So you just run an ad and you see what happens. And one of the other things that I really, really dislike is you can't day part. You can't say, only show my ads from 8 a.m. till 8 p.m. That's not an option. If you want to do that, you can't do it. So that means that your dental practice or chiropractor or whatever it might be, you are showing ads 24/7, whether you like it or not. It doesn't matter to anybody there to answer the phones. It doesn't matter if it's complete waste from your perspective. You're running 24/7. So you can see from that, from a business owner's perspective, that's a huge trade-off to gain simplicity. And that's all you've gained. You've gained simplicity and speed of setup. I would educate in most cases what you will save in time and what you save in management fees, you almost certainly lose in poorer performance for your campaign. So let me just pause at this point and see if this just makes sense so far. And I just want to dive into the question box, which may mess up my screen for a second. So bear with me while I do that, but let's have a look and see what the feedback is so far. See if everybody's with me on this one. Michael's made a great point because I know it's watered down and aimed at the uneducated. Yeah, Matthew says it's a great way for business owners to spend a lot more money than they need to. An unpredictable ROI. Absolutely agree. It is, totally. Sherry says the only express is express money spend. I tend to agree. That's absolutely sensible. So, Greg, good question. Greg asks, if they're only paying for clicks, does the time of day matter? Yes, it absolutely matters. It matters because if you're closed at the time of day somebody's clicking on your ad, and they're going to ring you or call you or fill a form, and if you can't respond, that click is completely wasted, and you've paid for it. So what you lose twice, because you've paid for a click at, say, 10 o'clock at night when you couldn't answer it, but you've also lost out on the click that you could have had at 2 p.m. in the afternoon where you had somebody there to answer it. You've still spent the same amount of money, but you've lost a valuable click and you've gained one that has no value whatsoever. So I'm hoping that makes sense so far in terms of what it's actually doing for you. So good, you guys are getting this. This makes sense, and it's a great opportunity. So here's what I think we ought to be doing with AdWords Express. First thing is identify those people who are using AdWords Express and contact them. Send them a free report, and I'll come on to that in a few minutes, and follow up with them. Now with AdWords Express, we can't do a full audit because the data isn't there to show you. We can't track conversions there. We can't see easily the waste. And we can't even see spend by time of day or by day of week. So we can't get into all the detail we'd normally do with a full AdWords account to say you're wasting money overnight or you're wasting money on mobiles or whatever. We can't easily do that. So all we can do is point to best practice. So in this, the key things become, where do we find AdWords advertisers and how do we get in touch with them? So let's have a look how to do it. The simplest way is the maps, and I'll pull a window up in a second and we'll have a look at a couple of examples of this. Google Maps are one of the places that AdWords Express ads show up a lot more often than regular AdWords ads. So you're going to see one of the differences here. Regular AdWords, you can advertise on maps. Most people don't. AdWords Express, you can't turn off maps. So most AdWords Express, or all AdWords Express advertisers will be advertising on maps whether they mean to or not. So as you can see from my screen here, this top result, when I did a search for commercial solicitors in Leicester, which is near where I live, this very first result that comes up is an ad. And I'm going to bring a couple of these up live so we can see what we're actually getting as a result. And I'll show you how this works. So let's just grab a screen. We'll pause for a second because this will go funny. Okay. Hopefully you can see my screen again. So if I go to maps.google.co.uk for me, as it's my local one, let's pick a market, let's pick a niche that we're going to have a look at. For example, I don't know. Let's go for a favorite. Let's go for orthodontist. And let's pick it in. Well, there we go. I haven't even typed a location in, and it's found out where I am. It's even put my house on the map almost. And we can see here, this ad here. Dr. R. Coolsley Orthodontist at Total Dental Care. How I know this is an AdWords ad, an AdWords Express ad rather than a regular AdWords ad. So if I click on the little I, and it says these ads based on your current search terms, see your ad here, I've got the AdWords Express sign up page. So I know it's an AdWords Express ad. So that is a really simple, fast way to identify AdWords Express ads. Now, the downside to doing this, and this is a downside, and I haven't found a better way of doing this yet. If I find one, I will tell you, is that it only brings up one search result at a time. The others, as you can see, are non-paid. These are all just regular search results. So I've got another one at the bottom. Again, try the same on here. Is this another AdWords Express? It's another AdWords Express. So in that search, I picked up 2 advertisers. So when we're doing this, we can't go out and find 11 at once like we can in the normal search results. We're going to find 1s and 2s at a time. So it's a little bit slower process to do that, but we know exactly how they're going about it. We know they're an AdWords Express advertiser, so we know the issues that they're going to be facing. We know they're going to have a wasteful account that's spending too much money relative to the actual budget. It's probably not going to be a huge big budget, which is one of the reasons we don't focus on this. But we know that it's going to be overspending. So let me just check back in the chat again and see if that makes sense to everybody. Okay. So yeah, Sean, that's a perfect question. Yeah, are they spending enough? And the answer is these would not be prospects I would put at the top of my list. They are not the people I would suggest you guys go after on a regular basis. We're doing this today as an extra because you'll come across them. So if you're going to come across them, and we've seen several come in through our business over the past few weeks in particular, where during the course of prospecting, you are stumbling across AdWords Express advertisers. Now, if I just go to the regular search results for this, if I just do a similar search on the regular results and see what that brings up. Now, again, I've got ads showing up on the right-hand side here, but on here, I have no way of telling which one's an Express ad and which one's a regular ad. The normal AdWords interface doesn't tell me anything, so I've got no clue. So that's why I go to maps to do this, because I know if they're on the map and we've got an ad showing, I know with certainty that they're an AdWords Express advertiser. So that's why you see the difference between the two. So does that make sense to everybody? Is everyone with me as to why I've done it that way? Yeah. Dan says, wouldn't the bad ad copy give it away? Dan, I'd love to say yes, the bad ad copy would give it away, but I've seen really bad ads written by people doing it properly and running proper AdWords. So absolutely, yeah, it doesn't. Unfortunately, it doesn't. Now, I just want to confirm something on this. There is people saying these are not going to be good accounts for us. Don't assume that's the case. I've seen, I think it was 10 days ago, a $15,000 a month Express campaign. It was crazy and should never be running at $15,000 a month on AdWords Express, but it was. So you will see bigger and smaller ones. So I wouldn't suggest that you focus on this. The purpose of this is, as I sort of said a couple of times, when you come across these guys, if you find people who are doing it through your normal prospecting and they tell you they're an AdWords Express advertiser, you know how to handle them. So this is how you find them if you want to go out and prospect for them. I suspect they will be relatively easy wins because they're not going to be competent. They're not going to be spending lots of time managing their account. There will be overspending in their account. So it's about articulating that to them. So that's how we go about finding them. It's really not complicated. But I say I wouldn't spend long doing that. Out of your daily effort, I mean, please, please, please don't spend 5 hours a day looking for AdWords Express prospects. If that's 20, 30 minutes, that's maximum you'd ever want to spend prospecting for AdWords Express prospects. Treat this as a method for when you find them, but if you really want to look, go ahead and have a go. So what have we done? Yeah, John, great point. The good practice for when you get the big ones. Really, really good example. Joanne's asked, can I show it again? Yeah, if I show you, so this is an AdWords Express advertiser. You can see the main thing is they're advertising on the map. Very few regular AdWords advertisers would ever advertise on the map. It tends not to be very efficient advertising. So I've found this one here just by doing a search. It's automatically come up, and if I click on see your ad, I see I get taken to AdWords Express page. So that's how I find them and how I know that they're there. Now, we've done something else with this for you guys. I want to make this easy so that if you come across these and you decide you want to follow up with them, you don't have to spend hours thinking about it. And I'll show you what we've done. Okay, just going to move this over. Oops. Bear with me a second while I just flip this over onto the other screen. So right, I've done something very confusing in my Mac and I don't know how to get out of it. Ah, right. No, that's not going to do it. I could do with some hold music when I make these kind of stupid mistakes. Yay! Right. Here's what I've done. We've put together for you a guide. It's going to be available on the website as soon as this recording goes live overnight tonight. And what we've done is a guide that you can brand up and give to people to show them the difference between AdWords and AdWords Express. And naturally, the way this document is written is to steer people towards AdWords Express. Sorry, towards regular AdWords. You can use this as a giveaway, as a download. You can just send it out to people who you've spoken to. You know, if you come across someone and they say, we're running AdWords Express, you can quite easily say, oh, I'm not sure that's a very good idea. Let me send you a guide about that so you can see the differences. Can you see that on my screen okay? Is that readable, guys? Is the type too small? If it's too small, I'll make it bigger. Okay, I'm going to make that a little bit larger because a few people are struggling. So here we go. So introduction page, naturally. We've then done an explanation as to why there are two versions of AdWords. And we've done a brief sort of overview comparison between the two. So the purpose of this is just to set the scene that says AdWords is really powerful and flexible. AdWords Express isn't. So that's the brief comparison summarized even more briefly. We then go in to talk about what the things that stay the same between the two platforms are. So here we're actually selling paying for clicks. So the purpose of this paragraph here is to tell people paying for clicks is a good thing because it's controllable. You're not paying for waste. It's a good thing to pay for clicks. We talk about how you can target any device. What the heck just happened there? And we talk about how you can target location. So this bit here is actually saying all the best things that are in AdWords, you're paying for clicks only, the device, the location, are in both platforms. We then go on to a section to deal with what's different. And we talk about essentially the problems with AdWords Express. So there isn't any conversion tracking. And we all know, anybody who's been on the webinars for more than 30 minutes will know anybody running any kind of AdWords campaign without conversion tracking will be losing money. You've got to be tracking conversions, and that's an absolute cardinal sin not to do that. So we talk about conversion tracking. We talk about keywords and how AdWords gives you much more control so you don't waste money in the same way that you waste it with AdWords Express. As we say here, poor keyword targeting is responsible for much of the wasted spend in many AdWords accounts. So we're trying to get that point across about the inefficiency. We'll then go on to talk about the location targeting we've already spoken about, why this is bad. from an AdWords Express point of view, we talk about bidding and how the fact you give up control over your keyword bidding, the things we've already mentioned. And again, that's a really important point, because if you can only afford to pay $50 per lead and you're bidding on keywords that are $20 per lead because AdWords Express has taken that control away from you, that's never going to be a good decision for your business. That will always be bad spend. So if you bring it into regular AdWords, you can control it. We talk about ad optimization, the fact that in AdWords Express, the extensions we speak about when we're auditing ads, site links and those kind of things, they're not available in AdWords Express. It by default puts the phone number in, so you get a little bit back, but you don't get all the other things that you can do in an AdWords ad. Finally, go on to say what's better, and the answer is almost always AdWords, and explain why. I have allowed an exception, but the exception is pretty brutal, and it's slightly rude actually. Fran did point earlier, because I sent her an early version of this across today, that the line "you are unwilling to engage professionals to maximize your ad campaign" is a little bit direct, and you may wish to change that. So be aware to everybody that line is in there. If you want to send this document to anybody, you may want to change it slightly first. So that's what we've put together. That's going into the website overnight tonight, so you can have that as a download. That if you come across AdWords Express prospects, don't waste hours following up with them, but send them a guide like this, or send them a summary version of this, and we'll produce a little summary, which you can see in the back in a moment, as to why AdWords is better than Express. It's a simple follow-up for a relatively low-value prospect, but you will occasionally find a bigger one. So here's the at a glance, which we may make a prettier version of that, or you can make a prettier version if you wish. So obviously you can identify success with conversion tracking. I have put the caveat if you choose to use it, because not all AdWords advertisers do. And you can see from my language here about keyword control, ad copy, locations, the sell is quite strong in favor of AdWords rather than Express. The only area where it's the other way around is at the bottom. AdWords is considered harder to learn and run, and it needs a lot more management time. But that means they need professional management. So sell them professional management, because they don't want to run that themselves. So I hope that that's a good overview of AdWords Express, and something you can use with lower value prospects whenever you come across them. As I said, please don't spend hours chasing these guys. They'll never make you rich. But when you find them, now you know how to handle them. So let's dive in and take some questions about AdWords Express and what that means for your business. Just flicking through now, so bear with me. Right. Yes. So, Fran, great question. So let's assume let's talk about next steps. If you have spoken to somebody and they are running AdWords Express, you can send them this document. You can educate them onto why it's a bad thing. You can then send them what we term a market analysis, which essentially is a proposal without an audit. So it's a proposal that will explain what we believe the market potential for that particular niche is. We will refer back to AdWords Express, but we will not audit the AdWords Express account, because we can't audit an AdWords Express account because there isn't enough detail there. So when you submit this, if you get a prospect in, the next step is to submit a proposal request to us in the same way you do for anything else. Make it clear it's an AdWords Express account. Get access to the account in the same way as you've already got ask for it. Request access. You can. I was corrected a week ago when someone pointed out you can get MCC access to an AdWords Express account. So you can do that. You can get access to an AdWords Express account through your MCC. So you can, get their client ID, put it in your MCC account, make the access request, and we can prepare you a market proposal, which will show the search volume, likely CPCs, likely conversions, and we can use their data to an extent when we prepare that. We just can't prepare a full audit. What we'll do with that as well is we'll insert a paragraph in there referring to the fact they're running AdWords Express, and that's an inefficient platform. It's bad for several reasons, and again, we'll reiterate the negatives in there. So that's what you can expect back, a proposal with that extra information in it, regular market analysis, but it won't be an audit. So let's get back to some more questions that are on this. So yeah, follow up the free report with a proposal. In terms of converting them, Matthew asked a great question. If you get an AdWords Express prospect in your funnel, how do you convert them? I think you take it in 2 steps. Number 1, explain with this document or anything else you choose to use for instead why AdWords Express is a bad thing. Then when you explain why it's a bad thing, say, would you like me to produce you a proposal to what this would look like in regular AdWords and the reasons why you would do it? And you then produce a regular proposal, again with an extra piece in it to reiterate why AdWords is better than Express. So it's not a complicated selling process. It doesn't want to be. You're not going to spend hours on these guys because they're small value usually. Not always, but usually. So treat them in that way. It's a 2-step, and then follow up with them. Keith, great question. I like that. Keith asked, have we successfully converted AdWords Express users to AdWords that then spend more money to make it profitable? Yes, we have. One of the strange byproducts of AdWords Express, let me just try and make this as clear as I possibly can. If you're running AdWords Express, you've got no reporting, or you've got very limited reporting. The moment you start turning it into AdWords regular, you can obviously get proper reporting, you can get proper conversion tracking, so you can start and measure results, and once you can measure results, you can then justify spending more money on it. Now, a couple of things that you'll find with that. First thing that your clients or your prospects will see is that their cost per click will go up slightly, and the reason for that is Google bids on a load of rubbish, low quality keywords on maps. So quite often the average cost per click on an AdWords Express campaign is lower than the AdWords equivalent because it's being subsidized by some poor quality traffic that make the numbers look bigger from a user's perspective. I suspect that's partly a psychological thing that Google do just to make the numbers look bigger. But although the cost per click will go up, their conversions, which are now measurable, will also go up. So they can see, and we've seen cases where we've taken AdWords Express advertisers. In fact, we had one in New York City who just increased his budget last week, who was an ex-AdWords Express account, moved over to regular AdWords, has now put a 50% budget increase through. We'll see if that continues to grow, but you do see them, and I'm just thinking of that one because it's top of mind because it was only last week. Let's have a look. Would an AdWords Express account look the same by number? Yeah, if you add an AdWords Express account to your MCC, then you can still see it in your MCC, but there is a little icon in the top of the screen. Now, I'm trying to think how to present this to you tonight, and I can't present it easily because if I do that, I've got to go into a client's account, and that's not fair to do it to the client. What I will do is I'll take some screenshots and I'll upload those into the members area so you can, when I've blurred them out and things, so you can see exactly what it looks like. It's very pretty, it's very graphical, but not very helpful. And yes, Kay, you will convert them over to regular AdWords. You don't want to be running AdWords Express on an ongoing basis because from a management perspective, you can't do anything and it's very difficult to do. Nick has asked, how do we do conversion tracking? We use the AdWords conversion tracking, which you typically do in two ways. So we track in two ways, Nick. We use call tracking, so we use tracking phone numbers that record calls, so we know exactly how many phone calls have come in. And we also use AdWords conversion tracking, and that is a little piece of code you put on the thank you page for any form, that when the form is submitted, it lodges it as a conversion. So we know always how well a campaign's performing, because our phone tracking tracks at a keyword level again. So that's how we do that. Manish has asked about how do we find industries that are spending more than $2,500 a month. Manish, we did a full training on market niches last week. If you go into the members site and into the finding good AdWords niches, there's a whole video and some good downloads there for you for that one. So rather than go over that tonight, that's the best way to go for that, because there's a lot more detail than I can get into this evening on that one. Right, okay, Lee, great question. Is it easy to convert from Express to regular AdWords, and do they need to call their rep? No, they don't need. First thing is, yeah, it's really easy. You just start creating new AdWords, regular AdWords campaigns in the same account. So it's the same account. They don't even have to change anything from their perspective. Don't have to tell anybody, don't have to do anything. They can just upgrade the account to regular AdWords. So yeah, it's a very simple process. And Kate, when it comes to justifying your fee for this one, because I appreciate a lot of these will generally be small accounts. I would, from what I've seen, most AdWords or Express accounts are around the 500 mark or thereabouts a month. I say a couple of weeks ago we saw one that was 15,000 a month on AdWords Express, which was by far and away the biggest AdWords Express account I have ever seen. I mean, I've seen some that spend 5,000 a month. In the hotel industry, I've seen hotels spending quite big money on AdWords Express because they want to be found on maps. It's not the right way to go about being found on maps, but I've seen hotels do that. So that is a niche where they will spend more on this area. So that's an interesting one to take a look at. But you'll justify your fee against the waste, because again, what you'll be saying to them is, if you're currently spending 500, here's a whole lot of reasons why you're wasting a lot of that spend, and you've no idea, Mr. Prospect, what you're getting back for that. Now I can run a proper AdWords account for you, and your cost will probably increase a couple of $100 overall to take into account my fee, but you'll get better results from it. That's the kind of sales message that you're going to give, Kay. It's not an exciting client. These are not going to be the people you should be building your business on. These are the people that you will fall over accidentally because you can't help it. We've seen enough proposal requests come in for AdWords Express accounts to know that whether people mean to or not, they're being tripped over on a regular basis. Greg asks, why is advertising on maps so bad? It's not that it's bad particularly, Greg. It's just that the conversions tend to be really low. It's good, it's cheap traffic, but in my experience, it doesn't convert very well. People aren't tuned in for some reason between the ads on the maps in the same way as they are with ads on regular search. So even though you get clicks and you get traffic, we tend to see very few actual conversions come in. We've tested it a lot with phone number tracking on AdWords on maps. Let's say the calls that come in from that are a lot lower. One of our hotel clients that we ran, and I said they were spending 5,000 a month or thereabouts, and their cost per conversion on AdWords, because we could on Maps advertising, it wasn't through Express, it was on Maps, so we could tell the conversions was about 3 times the cost on regular search. So in my experience, it just doesn't work as well. Okay, Rick, I see you've got a specific question about authorizing an MCC. I'll take that one offline if I can and get someone to look into that for you and explain it separately, because that's just specific about MCC authorization. And I will follow up with you on that one, so we can get that right and spend some time on it. Okay, what I'm going to do is, before I jump into general Q&A, I just want to point out a new resource that you may or may not have seen yet that I want to make everybody aware of. So again, bear with me a second while I send the screens going a little bit of a mess. So hang on a second. Right. Okay. I don't know how many of you have seen this. Not that clearly. We have a little set of help pages at help.boostmyppc.com. We've been building this gradually over the last month or so to build help and sort of FAQ to common questions. Now, we've not really shouted about it a great deal as we're just building it up. So, first question is, how many of you have actually ever seen this or even know it exists? Lots of no's. Right. Yeah, we haven't shouted about this. We haven't made a big job of promoting it whilst we just build it up. We're putting a lot of effort into two areas at the moment. Number one is making this as complete and as helpful as I possibly can make it. And number two is we're doing some work to reorganize some of the training materials, following on from last week's session where we asked for some feedback as to what people are looking for and what you want. You'll have seen we've put a lot of new stuff into the site over the last week, and we're putting a lot more in over the coming weeks. Be aware of that. Now, one thing I just want to draw everybody's attention to in here today, for those of you who've had any issues with Boost My PPC SMTP settings, that has probably been the biggest single stumbling block people have encountered getting going with this whole program, because it's a little bit geeky, and many people aren't used to setting up SMTP and all that kind of stuff. And I understand that completely. Fully get that that's something that takes a few minutes to do, and you'll probably only ever do it once. So it's an inconvenience. Understand that totally. What we've done here is we've put a section in this training called SMTP, and what we've done is, and we're still working on this now, so you'll see this changing on a fairly regular basis, is put several documents together that kind of link to one another. So we've started off with an introduction as to what SMTP is, what you need to do. If you've done all this already, you're a step ahead, so you don't need to worry about this. We've then obviously gone into some more detail about setting it up. And what we've also put together is a couple of things that you might find really useful. If you haven't decided who you want to use for SMTP, first of all, we've done a full comparison of all the services that we've tested and, pros and cons, and you can, jump in with any of those that you particularly fancy. We've also, these links are all links to their websites, and at the bottom we've put an instructions page with full video breakdown of every single provider that we've worked with and all the settings that you need to put into Boost My PPC to make this work. So everything you need step by step. If at this point you're still struggling in any way with SMTP setup, there's everything you need here to get this going. We've put links to their help pages. So we've tried to take care of as much of that as possible for you, because I know it's the one thing that some people find more difficult than the rest of this. So that's what we've put together for this. I hope that's useful. For those of you who've got an issue, I can see a couple of people saying, yes, had issues with this, and I hear you totally. Is this helpful? Okay, cool. Right, good. Well, just wanted to make everybody aware of this. We're going to link more in a more prominent way from the members area to this resource now. As we build this out, we'll put more and more in here, and we'll make it more prominent. So be aware of that. That's coming. The aim is to make it as easy as possible for you guys, and we're keeping doing more and more things to make that happen. So that said, what I want to just do is turn over to last sort of 10 minutes for any general questions that anybody's got. So if you've got anything that's on your mind or bugging you, I'll get through as many as I can in the next 10 minutes. Oh, Terry, I feel so sorry. I feel bad. Terry said she spent quite a while this morning setting this up. I feel terrible for that, so my apologies. Okay, I guess better late than never. Yeah, if you are still struggling, Todd, we'll book in a team viewer session with you as soon as you're available. If we could perhaps do it first thing tomorrow morning your time, Ashish will be available to do that, and I'll get a copy of these questions and get him onto you as soon as I can. Okay, right. Let me tackle a couple of Boost by PPC related questions first, and then I'll jump into a couple more general questions. So let's have a look. Greg's asked, how do we stop the email sequence to customers who've followed up with you? Here's how you do it. So go to Boost by PPC. I'll just log in. Okay, so let's imagine that. Let's me go to a prospect. Let's have a look. I'll just pick one in here. Let's pick these guys up. This is my test account, as you know, so it doesn't necessarily mean it's all present and correct because I break this fairly regularly. Oh, come on, go faster. Oh, come on. While that's coming up, I'll just answer another question. Gordon's asked, when does a setup fee apply? We only charge a setup on a brand new account. So if it's brand new and we have to set it up from scratch, we charge a setup fee. If it's an existing account that's been transitioned, we don't. You can charge a setup for anything you want. So whether we charge or not is entirely up to you. That's your call. If you want to charge a setup fee, anytime you like. I have no idea why this is going so slow. It's very frustrating. Hit that again, see if that makes it go. Amisha, I apologize, I can't pronounce your name properly. I always get it wrong. When we'll be able to export filtered prospect lists? You can already export prospect lists right now. What you can't export is the filtered versions of them. Okay, with this, I'm going a different way. And we're looking at that one at the moment. And can you mail manually from your own email? Yes, you can email, Matthew. You need to do it slightly different. I'll show you how to do that in a moment. Because for some reason I appear to have a problem on my system. I'm not getting through anything at all on here at the moment. And I have no idea why, because this was working fine before we came on. Let's go a different way. Well, this is a first. I've never had Boost My PPC play up live on a demo, so this is a due one, I suppose. Right. Okay. Right. If you want to, and I've forgotten what I was doing, what the reason for this was, if you want to stop a sequence going to somebody, click on them. And when you're on their page, if you've sent them an email, that will be available for you to turn on or off. There'll be a link there you can turn off. This one hasn't because I've not sent them an email, but that will be underlined and you can just click the option to turn off follow up and that will stop them. So if you've got somebody who says, stop bugging me, they can of course unsubscribe, but if they haven't unsubscribed, you can just click that there and that will work. Okay. John, if you haven't set up Boost My PPC, just shoot us a ticket and we'll help you out with that. Other questions we've got coming in. Right, Matthew, that's a great question. What might stop you getting Amazon SES approval? Okay, let me just clarify the context for this question for those of you who aren't familiar with it. Amazon SES, which is simple email system, is one of the SMT providers you can use. It's completely free. Deliverability is awesome, but they can be a bit challenging to get approval with sometimes. So what you have to do with Amazon, and on our help page within Boost My PPC, there's a step-by-step process for getting set up with Amazon. It's the most technically difficult of all the setups in here by some distance. When you set up with Amazon, you first of all go into what they call their sandbox. Then when it's all set up and working, you have to apply for approval to go to their production system, which will actually lets you send real email. When you do that, you have to put a couple of sentences explaining why you want access to their production system and what kind of email you're going to be sending. At that point, if they think you are sending unsolicited, unapproved messages, they will not approve your account. They do not want you sending out spam, is the long and the short of it. So when you do that, you have to put in language like, I am sending email to people who have requested that I send them information, and you make it quite clear it's requested. So you don't use things like it's pure marketing, you use language like it's been requested. And explain in there always you provide unsubscribe links, you do not do volume mailing, you do very low sending volumes. More often than not, you will get approved, but occasionally we get people getting unapproved for whatever reason. So there is I would say you've got a 60-70% chance of getting approved, but for I'm sure if we were to go through the chat log tonight, there are people on this webinar who have not been approved for Amazon. So just be aware of that. We do see that. Okay, right. Todd says he's been approved by Amazon. Matthew, you're not sending unsolicited email if you've rung and asked first. If you're just sending purely scrapes, absolutely it is unsolicited, and be careful with the volume that you send. Amazon will still generally approve it, but you'll be fine otherwise. Amicia, great question. One issue we have got in the system at the moment, I say it's not an issue, it's an opportunity to improve, is that once you send an email out to a prospect, that email address is set in stone for the period of that prospect. We will look at a feature so you can change that mid-flow. We haven't got that in process yet. We've got some other things that are coming this week, some quite big things, but that will come in due course as well. So you'll be able to stop a sequence mid-flow and restart it with a new email address. So it's a great question. It's something we've heard a lot of people asking for. We know that, and we're on it. Stan, let me just run through your question. If I agree to a PPC campaign at $30 a click and a competitor pays $20 a click, do we get the same clicks? Stan, can you just type in the chat box? Are you talking about a Google search result here? Am I understanding this correct? Just wait for Stan to come back so I understand, because it takes a few seconds. Okay, right. In AdWords, when you're talking about the clicks, if you bid, let's say the keyword is Texas orthodontist. You may bid $30 for that click. Somebody else may bid $20. The $30 bid is not guaranteed to be above the $20 click. It will depend on the quality score of your keywords in your account as to whether you get higher or lower. So if you've got somebody who's got a really well optimized, good campaign spending $20 a click, they actually may have a higher ad position than a $30 bid for the same keyword because Google considers their ad to be more relevant. So it's not exclusive. There's no exclusivity in Google search whatsoever. Once you've, anybody can bid on any keyword at any level, and a combination of bid and quality score will be determining how much you pay for that click. Here we go. Mike's asked if Boost My PPC will accommodate SendGrid and MailJet. It already accommodates both of them, Mike. We've put instructions on the help pages. If you missed that, we'll put a link onto the help pages. It accommodates both of them already, so you've got those as options as well. Greg's asked, do we handle display ads? If you mean, do we handle them in Boost My PPC? No, we don't test for them in Boost My PPC yet, but we do handle them as an agency. So if you've got prospects who want to run display ads, then that's something very much that we do all day long. Big difference with display ads is it tends not to work as well for lead generation. It tends to be really good for brand building. That said, we're currently running a campaign spending about $30,000 a month on auto insurance lead generation, and it's working phenomenally well. So yes, we do both of those. And bear in mind, remarketing, which is a standard part of everything we do every day of the week with AdWords, is display. So that's something that we regularly see. Okay, what else have I missed? A couple minutes left, guys. I'm going to try and get through a couple more questions. Tom, will we soon be able to import lists? Yes, that's coming. Manish, can you hit a support ticket in with your query, please, on SMTP, because that sounds like it needs more work doing on it that we probably can't answer on this session. Going back. Michael, likewise, if you've got an SMTP error, hit us a support ticket and we'll follow up straight away. And Scott, yes, we are putting up that document to show how AdWords and AdWords Express differs. That will be in the site. Rick, yes. Rick's asked a great question. Do we have any way to handle unsubs or bounces? We're working on an import at the moment, so you can do them. Right, okay. Daniel, great question. Sorry, Danielle, I apologize. Is it important to be a Google partner and allow a Google representative to help us check on a new prospect and assist in setting the account up? Danielle, never, ever, ever, ever let a Google rep set an account up unless you want to lose the client very quickly. Being a partner is great. Being a partner is really helpful, but it isn't easily achieved because you've got to get at least $10,000 a month in ad spend through your account. And so until you've got your first few clients under your belt, you won't hit it. And you've got to have that going through your account for 3 months. As soon as you've got that, get your partner badge in. Straight away, go for that. But never, ever let a Google rep get involved in setting up the account for you. Cherie's asked if we can edit the content of outgoing emails. Not yet. We're looking at a way to do that doesn't compromise our split testing methodology. And before we go, just one last couple of things to say. We are definitely seeing you guys getting some serious results at the moment. The last week, we saw the highest number of proposal requests come through our business through this program ever. They are coming through in thick and fast. So I know a few people have had to wait sort of 3 days, and the odd ones had to wait 4 days for a proposal to come through. We've had to take on extra resource to cope with just full-time producing proposals for people because we're seeing so many come through. So we can see a huge difference in the volume of proposals coming into the business for people who are getting success through the program. So we can see it's happening. We can see it day by day. We can see the numbers getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And we're seeing across our entire customer base of PPC Profits users, the win rate on proposals to clients is still over 50% average. So bear in mind, many people like you, maybe in those shoes now, are selling PPC for the very first time. We're seeing people closing over 50% overall. So, if you haven't got your first one in yet, stick with it, because there's a lot of them coming in on a regular basis. I spoke to somebody today who's got a campaign they're pitching for a national legal client. Big, huge spend. We've been speaking to other people today. Alex, I was speaking to earlier on today, who's got his first audit request in. So, we're seeing these things come through. Work on them. It's definitely happening. Let me have a look. Have I got anything else that I've missed? Terry, you said I've missed yours. I'm not sure what I've missed, Terry. I'll try and... Terry's got a question on proposal on prospect exclusivity. That's an interesting question, Terry. I will find out for you. Let me have a look at your case specifically, because I'm not sure why you'll be seeing that happen. So let me have a look at that for you, and I will take that offline and I'll get you the answer. And what we'll come up with is a solution as to get past that as well, because that's not what we want. Thank you for reposting that. Tom, yes, this will be in the members area hopefully by tomorrow. Matthew, I think I've already answered that. Yes, you can use your own SMTP provider. Let me show you how to do it. If you want to send through your own email system, every prospect now has this external link in it that you can copy paste into any email, any Twitter message, any Facebook post, any Facebook message, anywhere you want to use this link, which is unique for every single prospect. You can use that, and it will export as well. So on the export from prospects, it will include a column with these what we call external links in it. So if you want to just put them in Outlook or anywhere else you like, go ahead, post them in there, and you can send them out to your prospects. So Matthew, I hope that answers your question and does exactly what you want. Guys, thank you all very much for your time this evening. I hope you've got a lot out of it. I'm glad that you had so many of you on the call tonight. The turnout, and I continue to be amazed by the turnout on these calls. It's phenomenal. We're seeing a huge amount of effort going in and some huge results happening as well. So congratulations to you all. Stick with it, and I will be in touch with a replay of this over the next couple of days. Guys, thanks ever so much. I'm going to stay and answer a couple more questions in the chat.